Hey BookTube, it's Chelsea the Reading Outlaw, and I'm here to do a book review. Something I don't do a lot of, but I'm trying to get better at. So today I'm here to do a review of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Farseer trilogy, which is the first trilogy she wrote in her Outlander universe. And we follow the adventures of Fitzchivalry Farseer, who is, I'm assuming, this guy right here, based on the cover. Fitz is a bastard to Prince Chivalry. We learn this in the first chapter when we meet him. He's being brought to the castle by a man named Burrick to be raised up by the royalty, by the nobility, to be brought into his father's house. And obviously, because he is a bastard, that causes some problems and some resentments. He meets Burrick. He eventually meets Chade or Cade. I always said it Cade. It's Chade. And Cade becomes kind of his teacher, his friend, his confidant, and he kind of trains him in the art of being an assassin. And then we watch as Fitz goes on kind of several different assassin adventures and attempts, and along the way we learn several different things about the court politics and who is supporting who and who is not and who is backstabbing who. And at the end of the book we get to kind of this lull in the action where the bad guy has been identified and kind of dealt with, or at least dealt with enough that we can get to a resting point. But we also get very heavy hints of some more major things to come in Fitz's life. Obviously, those will continue in books 2 and 3. Book 2 right here, Royal Assassin. And then book 3 right here, Assassin's Quest. I still have Royal Assassin coming from Amazon. And then, yeah, I'm making sure that those are the right order. But yeah, so I still have Assassin's Quest coming from Amazon, or Royal Assassin, and I have Assassin's Quest upstairs. Anyway, so that's kind of a general overview without getting too spoilery. So if that kind of piques your interest, then I highly encourage you to go check out Robin Hobb. I highly encourage you to check out Robin Hobb anyway, because her writing style is fantastic. She creates this world that it is just so easy to fall into and to become a part of. And you really start rooting for Fitz from the beginning. And he's not the only one. There are several characters in here that I found myself kind of caring about and rooting for. Cade is one of them. Burrick is one of them, even though Burrick does some really kind of awful things to Fitz in pursuit of what he believes to be right. A big part of this book is, or a big theme in this book is like communication and how we communicate and what the right ways to communicate are and what the wrong ways to communicate are. Fitz has a power called, I don't remember what it's called. The wit, I think. I forget what they call it, but basically, Fitz has the power to kind of meld with animals. Not meld, not like a dire wolf kind of thing, but he can sense them. He can kind of reach his mind out and he can tell what they're feeling and he can kind of help them feel things. He can help calm them down if need be. He can help get them excited. He forms this kind of bond with animals that is kind of seems like the skill, which is what they call the magic power that they're trying to teach Fitz, which is basically where you can like enter someone's mind and like telepathically communicate. You can kind of see what they're seeing, tell them things, speak to them, and that's called the skill. And so what Fitz can do is kind of like a perversion of that, but with animals, and that really upsets Burrick like a lot. So Burrick does quite a few things. Several of them involving various dogs. So if you have a thing for animals, if you're really into animals and animal safety, just be aware that there are a couple of scenes. No actual animals are harmed in the making of this book. Haha, see what I did there? But if animals are kind of your soft spot, just beware going into it that are some instances where that might kind of upset you. But anyway, so that kind of brings up questions as to why it's okay to do it with people, but why it's not okay for Fitz to be able to do it with animals. We haven't learned yet why Fitz can do that, or if that's like a part of something bigger. I'm going to guess that it is. Most things like that usually are, but we don't know for sure. So that was definitely one thing that I really liked. it made for a very tense book to always kind of be like, if only you guys could talk to each other. The dramatic irony of knowing more as the reader than the characters do. So I thought that played really well. I want to talk for a second about the ladies in this book, because you know how I feel about books and ladies, especially fantasy books. And I would give Robin Hobb like, I feel like a 3 for ladies in this book. We get several different kinds of ladies, or several ladies and someone we think is supposed to be a lady. And they vary in their class and in their station, but they don't get a whole lot of screen time in terms of really being important for the plot for Fitz. They serve a lot as moral support, they serve a lot as romantic interest, and that's all great, but they don't really, in this book at least, get kind of their chunk of the plot. So I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. I especially would have liked to see a little bit more as he kind of gets to know the queen and see her role expanded. I really like to see that more in the upcoming books. So yeah, I'd give Robin Hobb like a 3 out of 5 for the ladies. But in general, I gave this book a 4.5 stars out of 5, or I would have if Goodreads allows half stars. That's right. I'm going to mention it every time because I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world that we don't get half stars, Goodreads, who's obviously watching this video. Yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. I also had to take it down. So, like, a quarter of the star was for the ladies, and the other quarter of a star was not the book's fault, it was my fault. I think I read this book while I was in the midst of reading too much other high fantasy, specifically the Stormlight Archives, which you guys know I've been working on. The worlds are very different, but at the same time, they have just enough kind of in common that there were times I had to kind of shake it out of my head or remind myself that I was reading this book and not the Stormlight Archives. Specifically, when it came to Cade, the kind of personality and relationship between Fitz and Cade reminded me a lot of the wit in the first Stormlight Archives book, in The Way of Kings. If you guys have read that, for some reason, I kind of saw some similarities there. So that's not this book's fault. That's my fault. But it still kind of made it not as good a reading experience as I think it would have been if that hadn't been happening. But yeah, so I would definitely suggest that you pick this up because I can already tell it's going to be the first in a very long set of series that I'm really excited to get into. They're not horribly huge, so if you're kind of wary of getting started on yet another huge fantasy series, I know that the books in the series get bigger, but I don't think we get like 1,000-page tomes. So yeah. Fair warning, Robin Hobb is not necessarily an easy read. I would not say that she's quite on the George R. R. Martin level of what she does to her characters, at least not in this book, but it's close. She does some very not nice things to some nice people and to some not so nice people. So just if like violence against children, or if violence in general, or if potential murder and death and all that stuff is not your bag, then I would definitely say skip this one. Otherwise, I could not recommend it more highly. I'm really excited to get to the second one when it comes. And I probably won't do a review just for that one. I will probably wait and do a whole series wrap up when I finish. But I wanted to highlight Assassin's Apprentice since I just finished it. And yeah, those are my really long-winded and rambly thoughts about Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice. Pick it up if you haven't. If you have, let me know what you think. I know lots of you have, so I expect some comments down below letting me know what you thought. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.